some things that I talked about I wouldn't mind avoiding, whether the earth is flat. But I don't want to care to get into that, even though I do have some of my opinions. So I already stepped in it right off the bat. So let's just open it up to, I know it's going to be like popcorn. That's the way it is. I don't know if you play popcorn at the assemblies that when all of us are growing up. You do a Q&A, and for the first 5 minutes, you get a photo of the U.S. presidents, And then one person raised their hand up, and next thing pop, the questions are popping up all over the place. So I bet you it starts this way, so we'll see. So let's open up to Q&A. Let's pray. How about we do that first? Okay? Father, we do praise you and thank you for this period of time when we are supposed to give an answer to every man that asks the reason for the hope that is in us. Let this be that time when we can exchange iron sharpening with iron, and we can do that very thing here with the Q&A. Father, and I ask that you be glorified either way in whatever takes place here in the next 45 minutes, and give you the glory in your almighty name. Amen. Ryan's the first one to raise his hand in here. You did technically beat it. I saw it out of the corner of my eye.
So, in your opinion, while we do see miracles in the Hebrew Roots movement, we're not, in my perspective, seeing a real outpouring of the Holy Spirit. What do you think is the biggest cause of that?
It's an easy one for me to answer. First, let me start by doing this. And let me just tell you a little short story. Because I hear that a lot. That's a question that Christian people that I run into ask about the Hebrews. Where is the power? Where is the Holy Spirit? Where is the gifts? Things like that. I hear that it's all over the place. And I want to start out with just this first, and then we'll talk about why I think that it's not the way it appears to be biblically, what we see in the New Testament, etc. This happens to involve Rico. Rico and I were in South Africa back in the day, and I think it was one of the first times we met. And we were in Riverdale, I think it was Riverdale, South Africa. And it was a place very similar to this, but they had it all fenced off because there were, lions all over the place. So you pull in these jeeps and trucks, and they have a fence around so the lions couldn't get in. And it was a well-to-do thing. In other words, they had it set up for some of the more well-to-do people in the community. So this is one of those places where it wasn't Zulus and people like that. And they had nice dinner tables set up, those kind of atmospheres, where just to give you an image of it, where you have 3, 4 forks and nobody knows what fork goes to what thing. You got several glasses and nobody, one of those tweety, spheres. And they'd never heard the Torah, they didn't know any of this stuff. They were traditional Christians and people just getting into the Hebrew thing in South Africa. And they asked us, we talk about the Torah. Show us how the Torah is relevant to our lives, all those kind of things. So we spent the 2 days there, had a nice place for us to stay, and we finished. I was the last one to speak. And so I was in there picking up my laptop, putting things together and wrapping up cords. And he had all these white tables with beautiful white tablecloths on them. And as I was standing up there, this woman runs in the door. And she's real all excited. She says, I just want to thank you for coming. I didn't know anything about the Torah. I never heard of the Torah. I never heard the word Torah. So she's rattled off all these things, and I'm just overwhelmed. I said, well, thank you. Well, Rico should be here, because he's a part of it. And then she runs out. Okay, so I'm going back, holding up the cords, and another lady kind of saunters into the room, and she's going to each table, she's lifting up the tablecloths, and she lowered this one, she lifted this one, like this. So finally I said, excuse me, is there something I can do to help you? She says, yes, I'm looking for Karen's wheelchair. And I said, Karen, who's Karen? Well, Karen's the lady that just walked in, just ran in here. No. She didn't say anything to you? I said, no. Well, so we all know her. She's been paralyzed in a wheelchair all her life. She's out running around the parking lot, of the place, and it's totally healed. right there in front of God and everybody. They were right in, it actually happened outside the facility, and they were just going to take her wheelchair back and restore it. So I only say that for people who, it does happen. This is what I'm trying to say in this walk. Now, my opinion on why it doesn't seem to happen on biblical proportions is kind of twofold. I don't have time to talk about the second one because it takes a while to go through it. But I'm going to suggest to you that the idea, for example, of us being one is not just an academic venture. I believe that we are part of what the Bible calls the body of Messiah. Can we all agree with that? And sometimes in this walk, and I think sometimes it's due to traditional evangelicals and traditional Christianity. Sold $100 in my ministry, God sold back on your bosom, press down and shaking, that whole kind of thing, right? And over time, we keep doing that and hearing that, we kind of get a mean mentality. We go, well, what can God do for me today? And the evangelicals, respond to that by saying, well, God's going to put a check in your mailbox and these kind of things. And it turns into a me thing when the Bible, as I alluded to the other night, it says, if you obey me, I will bless you. He's speaking to his people, Israel. And he calls us a body because his body works just like our bodies. And in our body, when something goes wrong, it affects the whole rest of the body. And unfortunately, a good portion of the body, I believe, is part of the body, and they don't still understand the whole Torah thing. I think you know what kind of people are. I'm not one of those people that believe that if they don't believe the same thing we do about every single law, then they're going to die and go to HE toothpicks. I don't believe that at all. I believe that most people who have faith really have faith, even if they don't know all the answers, or keeping a good portion of the Torah every day just by not murdering and stealing anything that day. You see what I'm saying? And so what I'm also saying is there's a good portion of that body that is out there doing what they want to do. And the rest of the body suffers for it, and they're totally oblivious because they think it's just you and me, God, just you and me, God, you and me, Jesus, that kind of thing. And they have no recollection that the body works like a body. And when most of your body, you know that when we get older. Because when we get older, some parts of our body are going south. Yeah. Okay, you know what I mean? And it used to be a time when I would run around the yard in the summer when I get out of school, I'm skateboarding and playing army and dirt clog fights, and I get cut in my hand and blood would squirt all over the place, and I just keep on playing the rest of the day. And we played kick the can when it got dark, and we'd come home at midnight, and our parents didn't worry. Remember those days? And you'd run to that all day, and your parents didn't worry about you. And then you'd cram a peanut butter sandwich down you, and you get up the next morning and turn your underwear inside out and go out and play the next day, okay? Don't any of you guys act like you don't know what I'm talking about, okay? And within a couple of days, when I was 14, that cut would heal. And the reason why I was healing is because when I was 14, all my white blood cells, and that's what the white blood cells do. There's a problem in sector 5 or whatever, and they restore it and they heal it. And if everything's working perfectly, it heals very quickly. Okay? When you're 5 or 6 of you had kids, they get their fingers slammed in a door, and it'd break ours out into pieces and blood spurt everybody, and they're like little rubber things. Within 5 minutes, they're back to regular fingers. You go. But when you get older, like my father he passed away on me last year. My father would say, son, now when I get a cut, it takes months and months for that cut to heal. And his arm starts turning purple. Well, that's happened to me now, where you get something here and all of a sudden, days later, there's purple spots all over your arm. You know what I'm talking about? Because things here's the point. All the body parts aren't doing what they were originally designed to do. That's my point. And when that starts happening, it affects the rest of your body. That's why it takes longer to heal. And so we have a good portion of the people who are our brothers, even if they don't call themselves Hebrew roots and that's it, but they are part of the body of Messiah. And they're out there running around cold doing what they want to do. And it affects the rest of the body. So that's my opinion as to why we're not seeing it. And I believe the more unified we are, the more kind and gentle and loving, in spite of ourselves kind of thing, We are, and them too. There's a part to play on their side. The stronger the body becomes, and we're going to start seeing some, I do believe we can see some mighty things in this walk that are on those kind of biblical proportions. So, a long answer to a short question, but that's what I believe. Mary.
I can talk pretty loud if everyone can hear me. Man makes it hard.
Thank you. Question?
Right. Right, my understanding is our Creator and our Messiah is all about building a relationship with Him and with us. So when you said relationship is the key, and relationship has to come down to the I don't know much about you. I listen to a lot of your teachings, and you're talking about playing in the woods, getting cut when you're a kid. So you grew up in a beaver household.
Yeah, and I did.
Um,
My dad's name is Ward. My mother's name is
I have the mighty parents. Are you and Carol high school sweethearts? You got tired of your life on Wall Street, and you gave it all up, and now you're just running a circuit and teaching your grandparents. Could you tell us a little bit about you? Please.
Thank you. By the way, I brought a slideshow of our vacation. Would you play? Oh no, we have to watch a slideshow. Here we are, and okay, anyway, I understand the relevancy of that. As a matter of fact, some gentleman, we had the men's meeting earlier, and I ran into a few guys afterwards that basically said what you're saying. Yeah, you guys right. Basically said the same thing. And I'm thinking, totally relevant thing, man. Based a little bit on what I said earlier. It's one thing what you can present a facade on the outside, is another thing what's going on the inside. I've been through a divorce. Many moons ago, I've been divorced. Okay? Many moons ago. All my children are from my first marriage. And
How many children do you have?
six. I have 6 children. I have 21 grandchildren. I have 3 great-grandchildren. And I'm only 38. I'm still trying to figure out how that happened, okay? But my life dramatically changed about a year before I even met Carol. Carol and I have been married 22 years. And these are good years, because that's the letters of the alphabet. Right there she is, right there. I've been married 22 years. And we met when I was teaching at the church that I pastored. I pastored a non-denominational Christian church. I was ordained in the Foursquare faith. Okay? So I may break out into tongues at any moment. Right? Okay? We do some Hebrew here. Some of you may think it's tongues, but it's Hebrew. And I was in the middle of teaching on the tabernacle. I remember teaching the tabernacle. And I can still remember Carol walking in the door in those days. And she decided that she would, she wasn't married, hadn't been. And she decided she was going to return to her faith as well. She's always worked in the oil field. She's been a geologist for the government, for the state. She was a wildcatter in the wells up in North Dakota and Montana, places like that. As a matter of fact, we even had newspapers back then saying, the first one in an oil field, and things like that. She went out and did all the rough stuff, okay? And so she ended up moving at the same time, the town that I did. It was a little town called Vernal, Utah, a little tourist town in northeastern Utah. And she was going around to various churches because she wanted to return to faith. She was raised in the Lutheran church. I was raised in the Lutheran church. So we were both raised in non-evangelical churches. And so she tried this one and that one, and she found one that was teaching a lot of Greek, and the guy did nothing but Greek, which is the language I was first trained in. I love the Greek language too, I don't get me wrong. But she noticed after a while that they rarely said Jesus, and we used the words we used back then. They rarely said the word Jesus. They didn't do hardly any praise and worship at all, if they did any. And everything was Greek. So finally she's talking to a friend of hers, which, by the way, turned out to be someone that graduated in my high school in Missouri. Okay?